Welcome to the First Issue Club, your weekly comic book podcast where, just like Sue Storm, we love a good read. We're the First Issue Club. We talk about first issue comic books, the beginning of something. When you think about what comics were at the beginning, I guess the earliest form of them would be these political satire illustration sketches that you would see in newspapers from like the 1600s. And at some point, someone put a second panel next to one of those. And whoever Calvin or Hobbes of the time was
Bill
in
Watterson.
both. And it was supposed to be before and after, right? And you wonder if people looking at it at the time were like, why are there two Calvins? I've only ever understood there to be one Calvin at a time. Like, it must have broke people's brains to see sequential storytelling.
To see sequential Calvins.
Sesquicentennial Calvins.
Sorry.
And today, there's an infinite number of panels stacked right after each other. And God, am I thankful. I'll never run out of sequential strips.
That also means there's an infinite amount of Calvins.
Have you ever thought about that?
We're living in a world of unlimited Calvins.
Oops, want to feel old? There's infinite Calvins.
Yeah. There's like alternate universes of Calvins where he's like a good kid.
Into the Calvinverse.
I honestly thought you said we're going to say the first comic books were hieroglyphs.
That's where I was going too.
Oh, no, I wouldn't have thought of hieroglyphs.
No, see, that's why you're the scholar and
Sorry,
we're the students.
Hieroglyph heads.
Hieroglyphian.
Sorry, Egyptologists out there.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Hogwarts house. 10 points to hieroglyph.
They're just walking to class like this.
Great
King
for the
Tut.
listening crowd.
They knew what we were doing.
Yeah. You fill in the blank, genius. I'm Mike D.
I'm Greg.
And I am Vargas.
And together we're going to talk about a little bit of comic book news and then talk about a handful of first issues that come out this week so you know what to check out, what's going to sound good to you. There's a different comic for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all superhero stuff. Maybe we're talking all superhero stuff today. I'm not sure. But comics come in a lot of flavors, and it's a great way to absorb new, exciting stuff. We all need a little escapism in the world today. What better way to escape than supporting art and artists? Come on! We are brought to you by Boulevard Space Camper Cosmic IPA. Let's see if I can get this on screen for our video viewers. What a beautiful can. We love Boulevard for not only creating one of the tastiest beers with a huge set of varietals for all your different hop pleasures, but we love them for making the show possible as well and bringing it to your ears. So cheers to everyone out there. Pick up a Space Camper Cosmic IPA for a refreshing hoppy brew.
Yum yum, give me some down on my tum tum. Space Camper IPA. It's not a beer, it's a journey.
That's right. Let's get to it. First, I just want to acknowledge all over the country tonight, all over the US of A, there are people watching the new Captain America movie in theaters currently. We're not them. We had an appointment. We had an obligation to bring you guys an episode.
We prioritized the listening audience.
That's exactly right. So hopefully you got a chance to get out and see this movie. We'll be seeing it sometime this weekend and probably have takes next week on what we think of it. But I just wanted to get the group's early rumor mill impressions. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Are you any less excited about this movie seeing any of the early reviews or ratings?
I haven't seen any ratings, to be honest, so I don't know what people are saying. And it's not because I'm avoiding them. I just forgot it was coming out this weekend.
Whoa.
But to answer your question, I think I'm a little more excited about this movie because of the snippets we got from the new Thunderbolts trailer, wherein they in the trailer they mentioned that the Avengers aren't coming to save the day anymore. So either something catastrophic happens in Captain America that we aren't privy to yet, and that wipes out the Avengers, or they're just busy, and they just didn't have time. Like they
could not carry as much of a heavy meaning.
It was they had to take an everything shower that night. So
yeah, I know we had a handful of like TV shows and little things, and we had like kind of like Deadpool Wolverine movie, which was kind of like a Fox child that didn't totally feel like, 100% ingrained in the MCU. So I almost feel a little bit like I've been pulled off of the MCU cold turkey for a while, and I'm kind of excited to go back to theaters and see like a real proper MCU movie.
So you're like a junkie returning to the.
That's right. I quit smoking Marvel. And then I said, "What's one Marvel gonna hurt?"
I was freebasing it, to be honest. I would sneak out to my car during work. Yeah. I would do a quick line of Marvel, just to really feel something.
Yep.
And then I would go back and try to finish out the rest of my day. I would withdraw from my family. I would just like not go to social events because I was just too busy freebasing Marvel. I was just. Wherever I could get it, I was just taking it wherever I could.
Mine started as a trip to Vegas where, I watched a Marvel movie because when you're in Vegas, you watch a Marvel movie, right?
Yeah,
right.
And then
part of culture.
I got home and, it was like I went to Walmart and I put, $5 in the Marvel movie machine. And then all of a sudden I didn't have money for rent. And then, when you get all these like, you can watch a Marvel movie while, watching your football game and like, you get all this.
Yeah.
Just the opportunity is too available. Is this bit too much? Did I go?
The worst part was trying to hide it from my family. And then like, that's what really, the intervention was rough. Cause the whole time they were just like, you need to stop. And I was like, I need to make mine Marvel. Okay. Mine's Marvel.
Are these pre-order movie tickets?
I'm holding those for a friend.
Did you buy these months in advance for some weird reason?
Is this a Wolverine popcorn bucket? It's not what you think.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
I'm ready to get hooked again.
It's at 53% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
right now. The only movies below that are Ant-Man, Quantumania, and Eternals from
I like
the MCU.
Ant-Man.
I like Ant-Man too.
I thought Ant-Man was fine, and I'm also maybe the sole defender of Eternals. I also really like that movie.
My bottom of the barrel mark for Marvel is, I think, probably still Thor 2.
I like Thor 2. It's fine.
It's fine, but it's not great.
I would agree with Vargas in that it is not great. There was a concept, I don't know if you guys heard this, for Deadpool and Wolverine, that movie, wherein the movie was going to be a shot-for-shot remake of Thor the Dark World 2, but with Deadpool interjected into it. And then like they were like 40 minutes into the movie, we'll have it like break, like something will have happened that changed the course of time. But until then, it was just going to be like, this hysterical. Is the exact movie, exact like lines.
Well, that kind of makes sense for the weird scene in Marvel and Deadpool where we see Deadpool in Thor 2.
Yeah,
Thor, where he's been like I think Loki's been stabbed or something. Like they interjected his face. Okay, that's interesting.
There's a concept too where Deadpool's been in the Marvel movies this entire time.
He's Stanley,
but he's been just off camera, and so it was gonna just reuse shots from a ton of the MCU movies, and then you pan over and you see like the rest of the Deadpool scene, or you see like what happened just before the big thing that ended up in the movie, which I thought was such a funny idea. If people haven't seen it or haven't seen the series, there's a
Community?
Disney Plus thing called Assembled that they've done the making of the Marvel TV shows and movies for the last like 5 years. Everything that comes out gets one of these, and that movie's Assembled is fantastic, and they give you a lot of alternate ideas they had that were really funny.
Nice.
That would have been such a huge risk, and either of those, right?
The Thor 2 thing would have tanked.
Yeah, I think it's a little too high concept, but like on paper as a comic fan, it's hilarious.
It's a funny pitch for the lunch table of just like, hey, what if we fucking did this? Like it would have people rolling at the lunch table.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wish they would do it just with green screen. Like just take a DVD copy of Thor 2 and green screen Ryan Reynolds Deadpool into it.
I'm into that.
It seems more like a DVD bonus feature or something than it does a major cinematic release.
Totally.
Oh, 54% does not fill me with confidence.
Gents. Hey man, I'm jazzed about it. I loved Falcon and Winter Soldier. Next to Moon Knight and WandaVision, it was probably my favorite Marvel TV property.
Holy shit. Paddington and Peru sitting at 93%. We're cooked.
Yeah.
Absolutely cooked.
People think Paddington 2 might be like one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah.
That is, well, yeah, that's a thing. I don't get it.
Okay. You want to move on to other comic stuff? Anyone want to wax any more about MCU? I'll just say, I'm easy to please, and I'm excited to see this movie still. Yeah. And I'm not near as harsh on these things as most people are. I think they get held up a bit as like a symbol of like art dying, and like I don't know, it's not silly. That serious.
Yeah,
we need fun escapist movies every once in a while with archetypical characters from our childhood.
Yeah,
who cares?
Especially when studios like A24 exist. Like, if you want to go watch art, you can find it.
How many crazy, weird, great movies have come out in the last year? Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
Speaking of, have you seen the new trailer, the A24 trailer for the Paul Rudd and, what's his name? He's from I Think You Should Leave.
I Think You Should Leave. Yeah. Yeah.
They did a movie called, like, Friendship or something.
Friendship. Yeah.
And it is the most deranged trailer for a movie. I'm so excited.
The elevator pitch is, I love you, man, for sickos.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's all I need to hear. Tim Robinson,
you're right.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that movie.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Tim Robinson, and I Think You Should Leave and all of his sketch work. So when I saw that trailer and how good it was, I was just like all in for the ride.
That one and Death of a Unicorn. I'm stoked about.
What's that one about?
The trailer for Death of a Unicorn?
Mm-mm.
So it's I think it's Paul Rudd again and Jenna Ortega, and the elevator pitches they hit a unicorn on their way to a family vacation, and put the unicorn in their trunk and bring it, but then it like comes back to life and slaughters everybody at the family reunion.
I'm in.
I'll tell you what, Jenna Ortega takes some strange movies, dude.
Yes,
she was so immensely famous after the Wednesday thing and seemed like she could pick whatever project she wanted to do. And boy, is she making choices. And I kind of respect her for it.
Uh-huh. She's doing exactly what she wants to do, like very clearly.
Well, she wasn't in Pearl, but she was in X or Maxine.
She was? Had to be Maxine.
She was in Scream.
She was in the middle movie of the like.
That's Pearl
Maxine trilogy, wasn't
was
she?
Was she?
I think she was. I think she was like the final girl from that movie, if not.
It was Megan, Pearl, Bride of Chucky,
What are we talking about? Let's get back to comic books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scarlet Witch and Vision were married 50 years ago.
Oh, that's
Isn't
nice.
that nuts? There's an anniversary comic on the way. Gonna buy it?
Sure.
Interested?
What do you think's on their registry for their 50-year wedding anniversary? Spellbook holder? Cape cleaner? Soldering iron?
Do you think they're gonna get back together?
No. Nope. This will be a retrospective of their marital bliss and downfall.
Yeah, I have
There's no
idea
reason.
what
There's
this-
no reason for them to get together. They don't need to be married.
Well, I feel like since they've made Vision much more inhuman than he used to be, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That over time they've embraced more of the robot side of him, and it's weirder for them to be in a relationship.
Well, the last family Vision he created them.
Yeah.
Yeah. He seems
God,
more
that would be-
asexual than anything now.
Yeah.
Sure. Doesn't have feelings. Poor Vision.
Poor Vision.
Yeah. So to answer your question, probably not. Kind of fun to say out loud. Hey, they've been these fictional characters have been married for 50 years. Ain't that something, folks?
Sure.
Maybe
Or at least they
hook,
got married 50 years. Yeah.
they hook up for old time's sake 50 years later.
Hey, Wanda looks great for,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vision's a little rusty around the
nice.
crow's feet area.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
his laugh lines are really showing.
Let's see. How
Breaking
old-
news: Rob Liefeld's
hear.
quit Marvel.
Oh, God.
Deadpool
Stop
creator
the
reveals he's cut ties with Marvel after Deadpool and Wolverine snub. Rob Liefeld stated on his Robservations podcast that Kevin Feige disrespected him and his family on the red carpet and does not treat comic book creators well. Thoughts? Concerns? Leave them at the door because we don't give a shit.
I told you guys, my theory is he didn't get invited because nobody wants to hang out with Rob Liefeld.
Rob Liefeld needs to stop quitting stuff. He's quit everything all the time. Last year, he said he was retiring from Marvel because of his age. Now he's quitting Marvel because of a snub from Kevin Feige. He started Image and then promptly quit Image because they didn't respect him or something. He started a Kickstarter campaign, promptly quit that. Rob Liefeld kind of has a track record of not following through on shit that he says he's going to do.
I think, yeah, he's a big personality, and I think he likes being
It's a cult of
the-
personality.
in the zeitgeist. And some of the stuff he says, I just am not sure if it's genuine or if he just likes being in headlines or likes getting people to talk about his podcast or, whatever else it is. But that's like, this is the least shocking comic book news I've heard in a decade.
It is a thing like he was just like, I haven't been trending in a month. Let me say some wild ass shit.
Can I pose a question about this?
Go for it.
Who listens to Robservations?
I've never listened to an episode, but then again, he's probably never listened to our show either.
Okay, that's fine. But you two are, we run a podcast about comic books.
Right.
We are the definition of comic book nerds.
Mhm.
And not a one of us has listened to an episode of Robservations.
Right. And it's for the same reason I don't listen to Mark Millar's podcast. It's because I know who they are as a person, and I don't want to hear their takes on anything.
I think if we were 10 or 15 years older, we might. I think we missed the window.
That's not
a
true
little
because
bit.
I'm still who I am 10 or 15 years older. I can still see him as a pathetic piece of shit.
I think you have a different relationship with him as a creator if you're
We never dated.
years older.
I don't have a relationship with Rob
Stop the
Liefeld.
rumors.
You think about the regard that people. I mean, we know enough about comics and comic history to hold
Mhm.
Jim Lee in a really high regard and understand the things that those guys all did at Image Comics, and even if you have issues with Rob Liefeld, you still realize he's got like kind of a big place in the pivot of comics, right? Um,
Yeah, but Jim Lee isn't out here wiling out on social media about some dumb shit.
yeah, I know that, but we're talking about why don't we listen to his podcast? And I think if I'm trying to think of somebody like who was the Rob Liefeld of like 10 years later, because if that person started a podcast, if Robert Kirkman started a podcast,
I would listen to that
I
pretty
would listen to
quickly.
that, right?
Yeah, but the difference is like Robert Kirkman has like created more than 3 characters and has been interesting for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's a valid point. I mean, Robert Kirkman has been the driving force behind the not only comic book industry but pop culture at large with Walking Dead and Invincible. Rob Liefeld can't even sniff to what Robert Kirkman has accomplished in his short amount of time in comic books.
it would be like if like Nathan Edmondson had a podcast.
Who?
Exactly. he did Punisher and Black Widow at Marvel. He did The Activity. He
Mhm.
did a couple of books with Mitch Gerards. But like, you know, he was a big deal when he was writing comics, but then he like didn't do anything. I don't know.
But
I get where you're coming from, Mike D. Where like,
Can I also say this too? We are
the youth of the nation
jumping on Rob Liefeld right now for something I think if you took Rob Liefeld's name out of it, we would all be like, that fucking sucks and is lame. The idea that a guy could create a comic book character and not even be able to go to like the celebration of the movie being released. Like, that fucking sucks. Chip Zdarsky wrote a comic about it, like the public domain, right? Like, that's a sad, tragic story, and these people should be like get more credit for the things they created. When we look at Superman, like you can't do it, or Batman, you can't do anything with like Bob Kane and Bill Finger's name right in front of it, right?
To add context to this,
Yep.
Rob Liefeld was invited to the premiere.
Yep.
And to the red carpet. He was taking umbrage with how Kevin Feige treated him. He felt like he wasn't given the right amount of respect.
Yep.
Because of what he did for the Deadpool name. And I couldn't find any info about not being invited to an after party or, you know, whatever, like someone else going to an after party and he didn't. From what I read is he felt like he should have been treated better than he was, like on a higher pedestal that he thinks he should be on.
And he maybe is just being an asshole. You know what I mean?
And I think, and I agree with you of just like, if you isolate the event of just like, I created a character and if I wasn't allowed to go to a movie about the character that I created, that's bullshit. Mm-hmm. But we can't isolate it when it comes to this certain creator because it's just another long line of instances that he has done something or said something that is, you know, cringy or eye-worthy or just like showing who his true character is. Mm-hmm. Maybe like just like blowing out of proportion something that happened in real life that didn't happen the way it really did. You know, does that make sense? Yeah. It's just like, Rob, calm down.
I wonder, to your point, Mike.
Yep.
I wonder if the exact same thing happened to, let's say, Jason Aaron at the Thor Ragnarok premiere.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, Jason created Jane Foster Thor and whatever, all that stuff.
You're thinking Thor Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder. Love and Thunder. Yeah, thank you. The Necro Sword, all that stuff. That's all Jason Aaron.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If Feige treated Jason Aaron the exact same way he treated Rob Liefeld, would Jason Aaron feel snubbed the same way Rob Liefeld does?
Mm-hmm.
My guess is no, because Rob
Yeah.
because Rob Liefeld has that attitude that he
Yes.
is Deadpool.
I also
And
think that the distinction is they can both feel snubbed, but I don't know if Jason Aaron would go immediately to social media and start blasting everyone he could think of why he didn't get a front row seat at a movie.
Yeah.
It's just tact and like awareness
Yeah.
of the situation.
I also think there's a difference too between we're getting into the nuances of like a hypothetical situation here.
That may or may not have. Yeah.
But,
mhm.
but I think there's also like if I was going to make I would think in that scenario, Jason Aaron would be more valid in feeling wronged were that the case because he wrote the story that the movie is very literally based on, whereas
Uh-huh.
Rob Liefeld, you know,
Made the
Made
character
up-
helped
made
make
up
the
the
character.
made this character with, collaborators, and then like it spun around a bit, but his source material was pretty far detached from
Mhm.
what the Deadpool Wolverine movie ended up being, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Totally.
Weird convo.
We've talked about this before. Where like
Yeah, it's just-
I would make the argument every time that Joe Kelly has more of a right to be called the creator of Deadpool than Rob Liefeld does.
Yeah. Or Roy Thomas, to be honest. Just shout. It's a callback to an old bit.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like Joe Kelly defined who that character is now.
Mhm.
And
Wait,
it's just a joke that Rob Liefeld retires now. It's just like
yeah.
we've
Yeah.
seen that 5 times in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I would even argue that Brian Posehn has more of an impact on Deadpool than Rob Liefeld.
I mean, yeah, you could make that argument.
I don't know.
Moving on.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, let's not get into it. Maybe
No, let's get into it.
We've done it enough.
I'm more of a fence rider on this issue than
This is literally the Simpsons meme of "Stop, he's already dead."
Rob, hit us up. Come be on our podcast.
No, I
Or-
don't
no,
even
no,
want that. I
Sorry.
don't even want that.
We will come on Robservations.
That I probably will do. What else do you got for news?
nothing.
Nothing? Are we getting right into comics already?
We talked about a couple other things on the Patreon today, involving like some.
Oh, I
false-
didn't.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I did an interview with Matthew Rosenberg that we're going to be dropping in a couple weeks.
No big deal.
It was very cool of Matthew to come on and talk about his new book. We are taking everyone down with us out on Image Comics. It will hit your local comic book shop March 26th. It's a very fun spy, mad scientist story, and a daughter is involved, and robots, and it's very, very cool. So be sure to look out for that in the main feed. And if you want a sneak preview, subscribe to our Patreon because we might be dropping it there oily.
Who knows?
Right
Who knows what
on.
we'll do?
Vargas, per usual, I think you read the most first issues.
Sure.
Always the overachiever.
Let's pass to you if you don't mind.
Okay. No problem. Let me find them. Here they are. So up top, you said not all comics are superhero comics,
Yeah.
but I read one superhero comic.
Ugh.
Okay.
I read Eddie Brock Carnage. I got the
Mhm.
sweet Umberto Ramos wraparound cover.
Yep.
I didn't finish Venom War, or I haven't read all of Venom War yet, so I don't know how that ended. So I didn't know what this book was gonna be going into it. I just got it because it was a Carnage book and Charles Soule's writing it, so it kind of sold me there. But this book rips, and it rips hard. So
Really?
yeah. So I would equate this to Eddie Brock and Venom are linked together, and if one of them dies, the other dies. That's like the setup, right? But in order to kind of placate Carnage and keep him from killing everybody, worldwide, Eddie Brock has said, okay, I will let you kill people, but I will only let you kill serial killers. So they're traveling across the country with this podcast host as their like man in the chair, and they're hunting down serial killers.
All right, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty great,
That's
right?
a very great idea for a story.
Yeah.
The fact that it's like a criminal murder podcast host as the guy that's like, I know everything about serial killers.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, it's Dexter in the Marvel universe.
Okay.
And it's awesome. It's way bloodier than I thought it was going to be. The
Is it a red band?
It's not a red band. It's not. The interaction between Carnage and Eddie Brock is really good because they've spent so long like being enemies. Between like all the King in Black stuff, all the new Venom, Al Ewing's run, Venom and Carnage have just been at each other's throats. So to see them kind of having to like odd couple, it was interesting. That antagonism between the two of them is really cool. There's a great scene in the back of the book where Eddie wants to talk to Carnage face to face, and they like go into his subconscious and talk to each other as characters facing each other, and it's really good. It's a great book. If any of the stuff that I have said even piques your interest a little bit, I would absolutely recommend this book. Go check it out for sure.
Nice. You actually piqued my interest into it.
Dude, it's really cool. I don't know where it's going to go or how long it's going to last. But if they keep up that pitch and this whole book is just like 12 issues of Eddie and Carnage tracking down different serial killers, like I'm sold. I'm going to pick up every issue.
Yeah, that does sound cool. I skip a lot of Carnage stuff too because half the time it seems like the point to me of those comics is to be like, isn't it fucked up how crazy this guy is?
Yeah.
And that doesn't do it for me. But putting Eddie with him is a whole different thing.
Yeah. It's very good. It's very good. I also read Cyberpunk 2077 Psycho Squad by Dan Waters and Kieran McGowan.
Oh, I love Dan Waters.
Yes.
But before you get into that,
yeah,
I just want to say we read a Cyberpunk book a couple years ago that Cullen Bunn did, and it fucking ripped.
Yeah.
So I'm all invested in this Cyberpunk 2077 stuff.
Yeah, that was the Trauma Patrol or something, whatever it was. Yeah, so this is Cyberpunk Psycho Squad. I have a hard time recommending this book because you have to at least have a cursory familiarity with the world of cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going in completely blind, I feel like you may have a hard time rolling with all the stuff they're throwing at you.
Got it.
With that out of the way, this book was awesome. Can
you watch the anime and still get what's going on?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, go watch the Cyberpunk anime on Netflix if you're over 15 years old. And
let me say this too. I think this is something where like I knock this sort of thing on a comic that's like a volume 1. Like if you're first introducing this to the medium of comics, you need to hold our hands a little bit more. But now that it's been several years and they've released a handful of cyberpunk comics, I think I'm much more forgiving about the idea that it's not so accessible. Like if I buy Dune Volume 7, Issue 1, it's like I'm going to have to know what the fuck is going on in Dune to get this.
Yeah.
Well,
the onus is now on me.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I was going to say too, is like, I don't know why somebody would pick up a cyberpunk book without like at least having a cursory knowledge of the world or like an interest in it.
Unless like your Meemaw ran into a comic book shop and was just like, my grandson loves these things.
Yeah. So all that stuff out of the way, the story revolves around this like super police tac team whose only job it is to hunt down cyber psychos. And those are people who have been in the net for so long that they've like completely detached from humanity and gone crazy, and like in this book killed half of their office workers that work with them. So this squad is made up of these, highly trained military guys, and they go in and take over this building. But as we learn throughout the book, the team may or may not be made up of the types of people that they are going to hunt.
It's made up of cyber psychos.
Kind of. And
You ever
there's
walk past somebody on the street and be like, another 50 years? This guy's easily a cyber psycho.
Yeah, I can spot a cyber psycho a mile away, buddy.
I'm just a regular psycho.
You're out there.
I'm not
out there just engrossed in TikTok. You don't know what's going on with the world. You cyber psycho. Have you played the game, Vargas?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
is it good? Is it good?
It's awesome. I had a lot of fun with it. And hunting down the cyber psychos was one of my favorite parts because they're like little bosses.
Oh, okay. So this is a thing you can actually do within the
game.
World of okay.
I mean, it was very cool. I love those. It's a 4-issue mini. I love those books where you're introduced to like a little team and everybody's got their own little jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got a mission they need to do. Like that kind of like checks all my boxes. So this was
Keanu Reeves in this one?
No, Keanu's not in this one.
Okay. Dang it.
It's still worth picking up if you're a fan of Dan Waters or cyberpunk at all. I think this is an easy pickup. And again, 4-issue mini, cost of entry is very low, and your ROI on reading this book is going to be very high. I read also The Hive. Have you guys read The Hive or heard of The Hive?
No. Is it an indie comic, I'm assuming?
It's an Image book.
An Image.
And this is by I think it's Joe Lieberman and Mike Henderson. Lieberman wrote Ninja Viking Cowboy.
Oh yeah,
Cowboy Ninja Viking.
Yep.
And Mike Henderson did the art on The Forged. So
I love The Forged.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good talent behind this book. I don't exactly know how to explain this book because it's very horny. It's very
how have I not heard about it?
There are superpowers involved. It's a crime story. Let's
see here. Mason Shaw is a no one, a worker bee. All that changes when he crosses paths with a few stragglers trying to stay one step ahead of a queen with immense powers who is determined to control her hive no matter who she has to kill. Welcome to The Hive.
Yeah.
A lot of bee references. So is that a...
Yeah, well, so there's this one like woman who has this power to control people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't explain how she has this power or what this power is or who it extends to. But yeah, I got the impression that there were this like small group of people that were trying to do away with her or like get one over on her in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And our main character is one of those people. I know it sounds like I'm kind of knocking this book, and I really am not, because I got to the end and I was like, oh, I really want to know what's happening. Like, I want to know more about everything I just read, which I think is the sign of a good book, but it's also like maybe you trade weight this one.
Yeah, I'm looking at the preview right now on Image. It's a beautiful looking book.
Yeah.
And it looks very, very intriguing.
It was very cool, and I loved everything I read. I just want more of it, like right now. which I guess is a good and a bad.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing. Yeah, AJ Lieberman,
thank you.
Cowboy
Joe
Ninja
Lieberman
Viking,
was the senator.
Yeah,
I know. I was
A real twist in occupations.
I was like, this guy's gonna be hard to Google because you're gonna get like pages of senator stuff.
Yeah, and then Mike Henderson did The Forged and Nailbiter.
Yeah, well, yeah, Nailbiter. God.
Ton of great stuff. Okay.
So
I think I'm in. I think I'm in for this book.
yeah, it was good. And then I think the big book of the week, I don't know if either of you guys also read this, but I read Bug Wars by best friend of the show, Jason Aaron.
Best friend and tiki enthusiast, Jason Aaron.
Yeah. And this book is so good.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about it on the show before, but the setup is that a kid gets Honey, I Shrunked and is caught in the middle of a war between bugs. He's in his backyard,
Mhm.
and
Who among us?
I mean, who among us? It is ultra violent. It is
Nice.
I mean, it is totally R-rated.
Bug on bug violence.
Bug on bug violence. But there's a lot of cool stuff in this book beyond just the like Conan the Barbarian violence, because the kid's dad died in the house that they're moving into, and he was an entomologist, studying bugs, and there's like evidence that he was shrinking down and coming back kind of like every day.
He was honey shrunking himself.
He was Honey, I Shrunk
in the name of
myself.
science.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, it's Jason Aaron. You're going to get a good book. It's Muhammad Asrar, so you're going to get good art. Like, this is definitely the book of the week. There's a really beautiful Peach Momoko variant for it. I mean,
Can I ask a real life question?
Yeah.
That may be a bit, but I kind of just want to know from the group.
sure.
If shrinking technology existed,
Mhm.
would you do it?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, there's like zero chance I would do that.
I would
Just because
put
like
it-
I don't know what it would do to my brain. Like I don't know what it would just do to me on a molecular level besides
put-
shrink me.
I would put it in reverse and be like 6 foot.
Ooh, we'd be a kaiju.
No. I would just be
The
like
attack of the
6'1".
50-foot Vargas. Pizza.
Where is the Little Caesars?
You're just going to like the Boulevard Brewery and like picking up like a big silo of beer and just drinking it like you're in a Looney Tunes segment.
I would not
Yeah,
shrink
okay.
myself. I'm small
All right.
enough.
I think, I just wouldn't do it. I'm not brave enough to shrink myself. I'd rather go into space than allow myself to be shrunk.
I barely get on a roller coaster. You think I'm gonna shrink myself?
Yeah, no, I know.
I assume you guys both put Bug Wars on your pull lists.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I actually got the Zero ash can a couple months ago.
sure.
I need to track that down.
Sure.
I got one I could sell you for $200.
No.
Or a kiss on the lips. What else did you read,
Oh.
Vargas?
That's it. Just those 4.
Mike D, would you like to tag team Doom with me?
Yes, please.
All right. Do you want to? I guess I should ask if who wants to lead the conversation. I don't mind. I don't mind setting up Doom.
Please go.
All right. Y'all get ready because we about to be dooming. This is gonna kick off the year of Doom for Marvel Comics. It's One World Under Doom, written by Ryan North, art by RB Silva. This is kind of your normal entry point that Marvel and DC do for these big events. This is kind of explaining in one issue what's happening, giving you the setup. Doctor Doom in a previous, I want to say, Fantastic Four issue. When did Doom get the Sorcerer Supreme powers?
Oh, that was in Blood Hunt.
Blood Hunt.
Blood Hunt. Yeah, sorry. In a Blood Hunt issue, Doctor Doom became Sorcerer Supreme, and then he vanished.
Maybe I should be given the synopsis. of
Holy
this
shit!
one.
Here we go. What's my Rotten Tomatoes score on this review, Mike D? Can't wait to see that. He emerges and tells the world at large that all political parties be it king or dictator or president, have sworn allegiance to Doom, and like he is the supreme ruler of the world, and he is going to make the world better by introducing communism and socialism into the world. Everyone gets free healthcare. Everyone gets free college up till grad school. He promises to take care of our ailing and aged, and give us daycare. All these great things that we want as a human race.
Speak for yourself. I voted for Trump.
Oh, God, gross. And the Avengers, I liked the scenes between the Avengers, and Mike D, tell me if you felt the same, of just like, they're all just kind of looking at each other like, is this fucking real? Like, there's no way this is real. Like, there has to be some kind of magic happening, or, Doom bots. Like, they're just kind of perplexed that a man of essentially pure evil has turned over a new leaf and is supplying the world with exactly what it's always wanted.
Oh yeah, I don't know how much to speak to this, because it gets ahead of maybe the ending, but I did enjoy that aspect of it. I feel like it made this kind of it enforced the grandeur of the event to come by getting everybody in a room being like, what the hell how do we react to this?
Right.
And then it also felt big to me, kind of in a way that, like, God, what was the big War of the Realms?
Oh yeah, Jason Aaron.
It kind of feels big in that way, that it's just like MCU wide thing that's going to have a ton of fun repercussions, and all the Avengers are kind of like, what? Like, I kind of like that it's not just a melee, that there's a lot of like political discourse and like some
jumping through hoops and cutting through red tape,
like mind games to be had, which is like very much a Doctor Doom sort of story, right? Like he's supposed to be one of the smartest men on Earth, and now he's the best magician or best sorcerer on Earth too. So it makes sense that he would be formidable, and that his only downfall may be his massive ego.
Well, I think it was brilliant in the way that Doctor Doom is doing this by essentially making it impossible for the Avengers to attack him, because then they will look like the villains of the story. Like, to the world at large, Doctor Doom is giving them everything they could have imagined. Better wages, better living conditions. They can go to the doctor whenever they want, no problem. Like, their schooling's taken care of. Like, if you saw a group of superpowered people attacking that person, you'd be a little pissed off, because what they're essentially trying to do is return the world to the status quo.
He goads Hydra into attacking him,
and
then
just
falsifies the situation wherein he gets Hydra to do like
a terrorist attack.
A bunch of like worldly good. Like, he convinces the Hydra goons to say, hey, you're going to disarm landmines across the world. You're going to build schools. You're going to build hospitals. Like, that's your role now with Doom, and Baron Zemo's on board for it. And the Avengers discover that he killed Zemo, and
like months ago.
Just made everyone believe that all the members of Hydra believe that Baron Zemo wanted them to do this. And the Avengers, in kind of uncovering this, show that to the world and say, see, this guy's manipulating people, and world leaders and other organizations aren't really signing up for this out of their free will. And then he comes back around and is like, yeah, but I did this for a reason. Like, the Avengers just got you out of all these horrible people disabling landmines all over the world and building schools, and like, think about all the good they could have done over the course of 10 years. Instead, they're just like back to being the new Nazis.
Yeah, which it's such a heel move to do, to turn like fake good and to give everyone what they want, because it's like just the opposite way you're supposed to handle a toddler. Like, of course, the toddler's going to be happier if it has candy. I don't know. I thought it was brilliant. I'm worried that I do have some worries about the series going over for the whole year. I'm worried that the Doombot will be a replacement for the Skrull invasion thing, and there's going to be a
Just
whole
like
who can we
everything's a
trust?
Doombot. Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I'm just kind of, and I'm also just like, I don't know if I'm really bought into the story of like Doctor Doom being the like altruistic like savior to the world, because it's just like, I know what's gonna turn. There's gonna be a heel turn soon, and now I just have to wait a whole year for it to happen. It's just, I don't know. It seems like too easy of a story.
I'm really excited for it. I kind of feel I'm looking forward to the roller coaster of like uncovering what Doom's intentions are and the Avengers having to really like slow play
Mm-hmm.
their reaction to stuff where it almost turns it. I mean, we always talk about how we like when the Marvel movies would go a little more political thriller,
Mm-hmm.
and this seems like it's hard to do that with just like the whole like everybody in the MCU and people just as powerful as Captain Marvel like kicking everyone's ass with like a
Mm-hmm.
couple laser beams. But when it becomes a mind game of morality and playing to people's wants and desires, it becomes like this interesting commentary, I think, too, on our political situation in the world today, and what people think they want versus what they're getting. And I don't know. I'm super intrigued by it. I thought this first issue kicked ass, and
Yeah. Okay.
um,
It wasn't a bad first issue. I don't want to paint it like that way, but it's
yeah.
just like, does this idea have enough steam for a year long event? This isn't like over the summer or like a 3-month period. This is their whole year.
A year of doom. We'll either look back on it fondly or sourly. I think Marvel has done a good job recently of not just turning a key and like resetting stuff. You think about
Mm-hmm.
Blood Hunt. Blood Hunt set up this whole thing, right? It turned Miles Morales into a vampire,
Mm-hmm.
and he might still be a vampire. Like
I think really we're all a little vampiric inside.
when they made, what's his face? Or they made Black Widow
Venom.
like a Venom sort of
Mhm.
She's
character.
still Venom.
That lasted a really, really
Yeah.
long time. Dylan Brock as Venom lasted a really long time. I kind of like that these things have a little more longevity and pay. And that's maybe just the sort of reader I am, that like I buy and read so many Marvel comics that it's fun for me to see things play out a little longer term than be like a 6-issue thing that is just like they beat the guy. Like I like a more of the ride and more rolling repercussions, and by doing it at least a year, at least like some of the ways it affects the characters, it has the freedom to affect them for until the end of the event at a minimum.
Mm-hmm. We shall see. We have a year to
Yeah.
argue and debate.
I would say if you are a lapsed comic fan and you like Doctor Doom and want to get pumped about like that character showing up in the movies or get reinvigorated by like this Fantastic Four stuff that's coming out, like this seems like maybe a fun event to just like pick up an issue here and there and follow along a bit. As for how many characters were in this book, I felt like it was bizarrely accessible.
Same. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. A villain goes good, and the good guys are confused and have to stop it. You know?
Yeah. And should they stop it? Well, what was I going to say? I love the thought bubbles for Doom. Normally they're outlined in green, and Doctor Strange's are outlined in red, and his had both outlines around them.
Right.
I thought that was like a really fun touch.
That's cool.
It's the small details that
It's the little things really that just make a relationship special.
Yeah.
I also read, if we're done with Doom talk,
Yep.
Creepshow in Love. It's the Valentine's Day anthology horror Creepshow. It's 3 stories.
So glad you read it.
It was really good. There's 3 fun Valentine's Day horror stories. One's by Mirka Andolfo. The other one is by Patrick Horvath. And the other one is by Yul Pyong Oh. They're super fun. One is about so the Patrick Hovarth one's really funny because in the beginning you think he's just buying fentanyl, this kid in the back alley, but he's buying like concentrated love powder that to like make people fall in love with him. And the guy selling it to him is just like, you use half a grain of salt of this behind your ears and that's it. Like if you use too much, people will lose their minds falling in love with you. And of course, I think he gets in like a fender bender and it like spills all over him. And the horror show that happens from that is just delightful. And Patrick Horvath is so good at is so good at like illustrating just grotesque body horror. And this was like the perfect avenue just to explore the righteous things you can do with the medium. So I have been and will continue to advocate picking up these anthologies whenever you get a chance because it's a great, it's a great way to ingest creators in quick succession that you don't normally read from that much. It's like a sampler.
Did either of you guys do Patrick Hovarth's crowdfunded book?
No,
It was good. I really liked it.
Is that the one that eventually got into a book, like a comic book that you can like pick on the shelf?
I don't know if you can pick it up on the shelf. The Kickstarter thing, it wasn't Kickstarter, it was Zoop. I always say Kickstarter regardless of what crowdfunding site it is. But they sent the book out maybe a month ago, and he sent out original art, I think with every single purchase.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, it's crazy. I got I got something like the size of a panel, but it's full watercolor, like...
That's cool.
Really rad illustration.
That's worth the price of entry.
Oh, for sure.
Nice. And that's all I read for the week.
Nice.
Is that it? Is that an episode?
It's a show.
It's an epi, baby.
Holy cow. Well, this is dropping Friday, so for all you lovers out there, happy Valentine's Day. Remember, consent is key, and sometimes love isn't physical touch, but sometimes it's just doing the dishes and picking up your underwear off the carpet. Is that it? Kiss them. Kiss anyone. Kiss anyone with consent.
First Issue Club podcast is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, the people responsible for our favorite drinks, the Space Camper Cosmic IPA family of beers. Our show is edited and produced by our hosts Mike DeStacy, Greg Lichtag, and Andy Vargas. You can find us on social media at First Issue Club, and you can join the supporters who keep our humble podcast going on our Patreon at patreon.com/firstissueclub.